Hey everybody, this is Mark Herr with Center for Self-Governance, and we're recording live here at the Branch Davidian compound in WACO, Texas on Jeanette Finicum's Facebook page because my phone power died, so I'm sorry. Heather Jones has a story to tell us, and we were in the middle of that interview, and then my phone died, so I apologize, Heather. But if you could you share with us the story of the day that you left the compound with the FBI negotiation and your experience with your dad?
Do you want me to start with when I talked to him like the day before?
It's up to you.
My name is Heather Jones, and I was the last kid to come out of Mount Carmel. And the last day I was there, I was sent out the 7th day into the raid as it began, and my David Koresh had talked to the negotiators about me leaving, and then they set up a specific time for me to leave the next day, and I got to sit on my dad's lap, and he told me he loved me and to be good and that he would see me soon, and he gave me a teddy bear right before I left. And then I talked to David Koresh, and then David Koresh told me, "You seem like you don't want to leave and you seem really unhappy." And I told him I didn't want to leave. And then he told me it was 9 o'clock and I had to leave. So he told me to walk out the door and walk up to the people at the gate. And I walked out the door when he pushed me, and I walked up the gate, and I walked up to the very front of the gate, and then I fell in a hole, and these guys jumped out, and one took my bag from me and one took me, and they put me in a tank, and then that was the last time I got to see my dad.
You had said earlier that when they took you to the building away, that they once they had your bag, that the ATF was in another room, and that teddy bear your dad gave you. What did they do?
When I left, when my dad gave me the teddy bear, I thought that if I had it with me that they would take it from me, so I put it in my bag. And then when we got to this, the place where they had all their equipment and everything, they were doing recordings, they let me talk to my dad, and then they took me downstairs to get a soda out of the machine because I was crying and upset, and they told me that I can get anything I wanted, and they went to, we went downstairs, and there was a room that was open, and there was guys in there, and they were laughing, saying that somebody probably sent me out with a bomb or a grenade, and they were shredding up my teddy bear and all my clothes.
And you didn't know, you also said earlier when we were talking that your dad remained there until the very end, and you said something earlier about him standing for his beliefs, and you also talked about not realizing the moment that you left that would be the last time you got to see your dad. Can you talk to those two things?
When I talked to my dad, like he told me that he would see me again one day, and he would see me soon. And when I left, I thought that he would be coming out with me. And I didn't understand that he wouldn't be, and I would never get to see him again.
You know, you said earlier, too, as we were talking about having to live with this for the rest of your life and not getting any closure. What would you tell the American people? Here it is, 2019. We're just a few days away from, since 1993, I can't add up the number of years, but, almost 30 years.
It's been 26 years.
26 years. And so finding closure for you, tell the American people what that's like.
I
don't think I'll ever get closure because they have done so much stuff that was wrong, and they're trying to cover it up so much that they're never gonna want to apologize for it. So I think this is something that I'm gonna live with the rest of my life, not having any closure.
And who was your dad?
David Jones.
David Jones. And so you guys have the anniversary coming up this weekend, and you were telling us that everyone gets together, and what happens there?
We just all get together. A lot of us survivors get to see each other, you know, once a year, and they'll play the names for everybody and have silence for everybody that had passed away here, and we'll get to see each other and spend time with each other and go out to eat maybe or something.
What would you, just in final thoughts, what would you like to see happen in the United States? So either, you know, these things don't happen again, or you guys get closure, or what would you like to see happen in the future? Because you have 3 daughters.
Yeah, I would like for people to open their eyes and realize that the government is doing stuff that is wrong, and it's so wrong that they try to cover it all up.
Yeah. Well, you got a chance to meet Jeanette Finicum. Her husband went through something similar, not as grand a scale, but the life and death were both involved. Gases were involved. Planning was involved. What do you think about hearing these kinds of repeat stories, even now, up into the last couple of years?
It's really sad. It shouldn't happen. People should not get murdered if they're unarmed. People should not get murdered because of what they believe in. It just shouldn't happen. And when you do something wrong, just like the ATF and FBI, they should be punished too.
One of the viewers is saying that they want to know, are you saying that the tragedy of what happened here in Waco is a responsibility of the government?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain why?
Everything from the very beginning of what they did was wrong. Them using force and their authority to overpower people, and it is wrong.
To shoot
Government gets to do whatever they want to and get away with it because nobody questions law enforcement. And to shoot unarmed people for no reason, it's horrible.
How many children died?
I'm not sure an exact number, but there was 85 people here, and most of them were children.
And you were, this is really an interesting point that you brought out earlier, is that not the majority of the people who died did not die in the fire.
No.
Can you explain?
Out of the 85 people that died here, only 24 of them actually died from the fire.
So the majority died how?
They were either crushed, they had gunshot wounds, which they said that they killed themselves, but where the shots were was not suicide.
You mean the trajectory of the bullets?
Yes.
And this came out in court?
Mm-hmm. And most of the
gas, did you say gas?
Most of the children and everything they died from the CS gas being poured in here.
The person who asked the question about the tragedy being blamed on the government is asking the question, were some of the children not shot in the bunker?
None of them were shot in the bunker.
There's the answer to that question. So, Jeanette, this is, we were just driving here on our way through the Texas tour with the documentary, and you guys agreed to pull over and come here. Yeah. So, what's your thought coming here, meeting Heather, coming to visit this site?
Well, it's been kind of eye-opening for me. Of course, I knew about this story, but I didn't know about all the little details. And meeting her in person has been kind of emotional, listening to her story, listening to her talk about her father, to talk about how her father wanted to keep her safe. Those were all some of the same things that LaVoy was doing, telling us to go home, telling the children to go home. And so I can relate, I can understand, I can see where her father was at that moment, because I can see my husband doing the same thing, and he did do the same thing. And so it's very emotional to be here and to watch, unfortunately, that from 1993, that in 2016, we're seeing a repeat, of course, not on the scale of this horrific murders that transpired here, but they did take the life of LaVoy, and it wasn't necessary. We need to seek for justice and accountability within our law enforcement as well. You know, if they want the American people to be able to trust them, they have to act responsibly themselves. They have to have integrity, and they have to follow their own rules, for heaven's sakes, right? And without warrants, without probable cause, they just are going in and creating these types of situations and murdering innocent people without their due process in court. Due process is here for each one of us. We are entitled to that day in court. That is what our system is all founded upon and built on, and we should have that available to us. So I just listened to her story. I hear the lack of due process wasn't there for any of these people either. They just opened fire, and literally firing upon them, killing her grandfather first, and then lighting the place on fire with no regard to anybody inside. And as I sit and listen to her 9-year-old memory, 9 years old, a little girl of 9 years old telling the story, I imagine it's just kind of like burned and etched into her mind what happened and transpired that day. To listen to the cries of the other children and the kids struggling for air and life, I can't even imagine what that was like. But those agents should be ashamed of themselves, murdering all those children. And then this is one part that really gets me, because I know that this happened in my husband's case as well, where they went out and celebrated the death of my husband and the end of a mission. And here there are similar pictures celebrating the end of their mission and murder spree here at WACO. And so my heart goes out to you and to all the people who lost their life here. And I hope that the story continues to get told, and that we, the American people, wake up.
Awesome. Thank you guys for paying attention, and hope you come out here to, when you're in Waco, Texas, you'll stop by the Branch Davidian compound and see a piece of history and keep the conversation alive.